Hello, Perception Trainers people. All right, so today I have a big video for you, and this might bring up a lot of resistance and a lot of wanting to comment in the how I'm wrong, and that is totally fine, okay? Be open to this. Let's just explore and see what comes up when we look under this rock. So this video is all about how shame and guilt are always lies. Shame and guilt are always lies. When we feel that we should be ashamed of ourselves and that we should feel guilty about what we are doing, not doing, being, not being, we are always caught in illusion. We are always working from trauma, and trauma is simply a separation from real reality and what we think reality is. Okay? All that a trauma is us being separated from real reality, not seeing reality for how it really is. And the reason that's a trauma is because then we go on trying to live and behave and create and be the creators that we are in this world, creating in a way that works against the system. So therefore we can't create what we want. We create things we don't want. We don't create the things we do want, just like we talked about in the last video, that everything is happening the way that it should be happening. Is that result of the universe is set up the way that it is. We are the way that we are. The farther we are from understanding how reality works, the less we are able to create what we want. We all have desire. That's the motivator of life, the motivator of creativity, of expansion, life itself, growth. And when we don't understand how the system works, we can't create. We get frustrated. We get all these things. We break ourselves against reality. So with shame and guilt, all of us have a sense that there's something fundamentally wrong with who we are. That there's something fundamentally wrong with the way that we are. We have New Year's resolutions, we have goals, we have all of these things. Most of the time, they are not coming from I love and accept myself exactly how I am, and I am just excited to grow into who I can become. I am fully happy with who I am as this person, and I want to expand myself. And I think that this is another big thing that we don't even recognize. That growth, that the desire for growth can come from two very different places. There's a healthy, life-affirming desire for growth, which comes from I know myself, I love myself, and I just want to expand what I am. I want to continue to see what I can create as this person that I am. Not because I'm lacking something. Not because there's something wrong with me. Not because I have to prove something about myself. Not because I'm not worthy or lovable or my higher self or the best version of me until this. But rather, I like who I am. And I know that one of the fundamental mechanisms of this reality is growth. That I am always going to have something to grow into. That I am a constant, I am a building block, I am a pattern that is meant to constantly expand. But my worth and my value has nothing to do with that. I am fully worthy, fundamentally acceptable, exactly as I am right here, right now, as my fundamental isness. As just being that which is a part of God. And now, how can I grow this, expand this, and have this individual experience of being me? Just letting it expand, right? So there's that expanded view of I am perfect. I am one with all that is. I don't have to do anything. Nothing could change or happen to change my value, my worth, my worthiness. I don't have to grow. I don't have to participate in life. I don't have to anything. I am love. I am one with all. And now I'm having this human experience. I'm having this ego experience. I'm having this experience of being this being. So let's just see what it can be. Let's just grow it. So there's that version of growth. And there's the other version of growth, which I think most, if not almost all humans are working from, which is there's something fundamentally flawed about what I am. There's something fundamentally not good enough about what I am. The way that I am acting, the way that I am behaving, my self-sabotage, my coping, my scapegoats, my not reaching my potential, my not doing enough, my not being enough, I'm not helping enough people, I'm not serving enough people, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not popular enough, I'm not financially stable enough, I'm not generous enough, I'm not. There's something fundamentally wrong about my makeup. There's something fundamentally wrong about who and what I am. And this is why I need to change. This is why I need to grow. These are why I have these goals. Because I cannot feel like I am good enough. I cannot love and accept myself. I am not going to allow myself to receive love and acceptance until this, and this changes about me. That is rooted in shame and guilt. There's something fundamentally wrong with what I've been. There's something fundamentally wrong about who I am. And unless and until I change into this specific new thing or into this vague new thing, I can't love myself. That is trauma. Always. Now, I would highly encourage that you watch the 2 videos that I've linked below about the nervous system or the ego, and my nervous system was messing with me. These 2 videos talk deeply about this nervous system programming that we have, and I feel like it will help you to understand this. The 3rd video to really watch is the nervous system video from the TED Talk style nervous system video, so that you can understand the nervous system in red, lockdown, the nervous system in yellow, I'm okay, fight or flight, and the nervous system in green, I am safe. We need to understand that, again, all of our traumas started in our childhoods, when we were in the temporary reality of our parents being God, of our parents being reality. Our caregivers and those who provided for us were conduits, were cover-ups, were God to us. They were, for all intents and purposes, reality to us. Meaning, when we are adults and we are working with reality, the results of our behavior let us know whether we're working in alignment with reality or not. The pain and pleasure dichotomy, the getting our needs met and having ourselves grow naturally, because that is what life is. Remember, we are playing this game of life. We are having an individual human experience on Earth, where one of the laws of staying here is growth. The main fundamental thing that all life has in common is it must be growing. It must have the capacity to grow, become more complex, take what it is and be expanded, becoming more complex. When we talk about our higher selves, our better selves, our future self that we want to be, we're talking simply about a more complex version of what we are. Anything that you're going to grow into, anything that you're going to become, is not something fundamentally different than what you are right now. It's a more mature, more complex, more in alignment with the structure of reality version of you, a wiser version of you, a more awake and aware version of you. It's not a part of you that has lost something or gotten rid of something. Okay, so this is where we're getting into this. This future version of you that you want to be, that you think you can't be lovable or likable until you are this, is simply who you are right now, expanded, more complex, more evolved. And we understand that the way our nervous systems work is when we were children, it was programmed into us that love and acceptance equals safety and provision. Because that's how it worked. Our human parents needed to approve of us in order to provide for us. And now, whether that was spoken or there was even any kind of direct communication, that mom and dad might withhold what you needed from you when they were rejecting you or not, it doesn't matter. because the way that our nervous systems have evolved as a human species is understanding this relationship between the parent and the child, where the child is completely helpless to meet their own needs. You have to understand, you as a child were a victim to your parents in the way that they had control over you getting your needs met. They had control over what you were programmed to believe was the right and wrong way to be. They had control over what you believed about yourself and about the world because you did not have the cognitive capacity to think for yourself. You did not have the physical capacity to provide for yourself. You could not rebel from them and get your needs met. So whatever they programmed you to believe, whatever they rejected in you, whatever they said was wrong or bad about you, whatever they told you was the right way to be, whatever they rewarded with their love and acceptance, and whatever they punished with their rejection or their invalidation or their pulling away from you. This is not just something you mentally learned was good and bad, right and wrong. This was programmed into your nervous system as survival versus death. Because again, mom and dad, your caregivers, whoever it was that was around you, were your provision. They were your source for everything. So their withdrawal was your not being able to survive. They're telling you that this way of being is wrong and bad was your gospel, and you needed to change. Whether, again, you understood this cognitively, you ever had the thought, maybe mom won't feed me, you never had that thought, most likely. You never had the mom and dad are going to kick me out and I'm going to die. You didn't have that thought. That was an intuitive knowing in your nervous system. And as a child, the only thing you had control over was your own behavior. The only thing you had control over was your own behavior. You could not change your circumstances. You could not convince your parents to believe something different. You didn't even know what it was and why they were rejecting you or why they were approving of you or what their reasoning for how they wanted to tell you the world worked was. You didn't know any of that. You didn't have the capacity to know any of that. All you knew is mom and dad are God because they provide everything. If they pull away or if they get mad at me, I'm not going to get what I need. I can't provide it for myself. So I need to be whatever it is that they accept. Otherwise, I'm going to die. And that got programmed into your nervous system. And that's all of us. Root trauma. Where our parents believed things that were out of alignment with true reality. Where our parents believed and said things that were out of alignment with real reality is where we were traumatized. So where we were told, don't be sad about this. Don't be mad about this. You're not supposed to feel how you feel about this. That's a trauma. Because in real reality, you were feeling how you were feeling for a reason. Your emotions are not good or bad. They're not right or wrong. They're neutral responses to, am I being antagonized or am I being supported in my growth? That is all emotions are. Emotions are simply clusters of feelings, and feelings are telling us this is in alignment with growth, this is out of alignment with growth. This is in alignment with reality, this is out of alignment with reality. But where these things got very confused for all of us is when we had a feeling that was telling us this is out of alignment with reality, this feels bad. And mom and dad said, no, this is good, you have to do this. There's something wrong with you that you don't feel good about this. Or, I felt good about this, I wanted to do this, I wanted to expand into this, and mom and dad said, no, 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 that's bad and that's wrong. You get abandoned, you get traumatized, you got rejected. Third way we get traumatized is the learning trauma. We go about doing something to have an experience in reality with reality, to break ourselves against reality, to make a mess, to spill the water, to understand how reality works through experimenting with it, trying to create and having it not go the way we thought it was going to go so that we could learn that reality is more complex than we thought, and them scolding us, abandoning us, or rescuing us. So not allowing us to learn from our experiences, but shutting down, telling us we just need to be a different way, scolding us, abandoning us, just leaving, not helping us solve our problems, yes? Or rescuing us, solving our problem for us so we don't learn. Those are the three ways we get traumatized. We got traumatized. Something felt good to me and I got scolded, abandoned for it, so I had to shut that down in myself. So now I'm at war with real life. Real life is telling me this is life affirming. This is a good path. Mom and dad are saying no. Mom and dad's opinion is the thing that matters right now because they provide for me, not reality. So I have to do what they want and I have to shut down my natural self. This doesn't feel good for me. I don't like this. This feels bad. My emotions, my feelings are telling me this is life degenerating. Mom and dad say it's good. I have to do it. I override real reality for what mom and dad say. Third thing, I want to learn something. I want to express something. I want to go through something. I want to make some mistakes. I want to break myself against reality. I want to make some messes and learn from them to allow me to understand reality better so that I can do more things. Mom and dad scold me, they abandon me, or they rescue me so I don't get to learn. I become ashamed. And these three things are the root of shame and guilt. I want to be something mom and dad tell me not to. The only thing I have control over is myself. I am not capable of saying, why do mom and dad reject this? Is this really a bad thing? Or is this just something mom and dad don't understand? Is this just something society doesn't understand? Is this just something caregivers don't understand? Why am I being scolded? Why am I being rejected? Why am I being told this is a thing I can't have, can't do, can't be? Is it religion? Is it culture? Is it all these things? We don't have that as children. All we have is, okay, they're telling me it's wrong and bad, so I need to believe it's wrong and bad. But it feels good. So now what? It feels good to do this thing that's against my biological urge to survive. Or it feels bad to do this thing. Okay? It feels bad to do this thing. But to not do it is against my biological urge to survive. I want to grow in this way. But the reaction that I get moves against my biological urge to survive, which is telling me I need to be approved of by my caregivers. This is how shame and guilt are born. It is born when that which our parents required of us conflicts with what reality required of us. And we have to abandon ourselves and abandon reality to try to fit into what our caregivers expected from us, what our caregivers were approving of or disapproving of. And we had to turn it in on ourselves because we had no way of questioning our caregivers. As small children from 0 to 7, we're not rebellious. We don't have a way of questioning our caregivers. We don't have a way of questioning what they're telling us about reality. We don't have a way of questioning society. This will be developed later in those healthy teenage years where we all become rebellious. That's when we're supposed to be saying, well, what if mom and dad are wrong? What if all this is wrong? What if my feelings are right? But as children, we get traumatized when who and what we are and what we want conflicts with what our parents are saying is right. And it gets programmed into our nervous system that to do what we want to do, to not do what they want us to do, to go and try to learn the way we want to learn, is death. We feel this conflicting feelings. And this is where the shame and guilt stories are created. We start to say, mom and dad must be right, there must be something wrong with me. there must be something wrong with me. Because we're so young, we're so little, we're so influenceable. And I think this is something we all kind of forget. We don't want to acknowledge this. That we were programmed, that we were young children who were completely victim to the programming of our parents. And if they were wrong about how reality works, we got programmed wrong. Our feelings and our emotions were telling us the real reality. And this is why emotional mastery is the key to awakening to true reality. True reality was always there, but our caregivers were overriding it because they were providing for us. You see? Because we were not capable of providing for ourselves. We were not capable of understanding reality for ourselves. We needed our parents in those young years to be able to override reality for us. Because again, if they didn't, we would all have died. We didn't have the capacity to understand reality enough to get our own needs met. We didn't have the physical capacity to get our own needs met. We were dependent on our parents. So their brainwashing, their conditioning, their belief systems, their "this is how I think reality is" became our "how I think reality is." And again, the degree to which their stories were out of whack with real reality is the degree to which we are now traumatized. Where our nervous systems say, this is a bad part of me, this is a bad part of me, this is a bad part of me, this is a shameful part of me. And those parts of ourselves become our shadow. Those are the parts of ourselves that don't get to grow, that then turn into our coping, our self-sabotage, our scapegoats, our bad habits, our chronic anxiety, our chronic depression, our mental illness. It's these breaks from our real self, real reality, and what we were programmed as our childhood self to believe that we had to be in order to survive. And this is why so many of us stay in our trauma forever. Because in order to move past it, in order to grow past our trauma, in order to awaken, to become enlightened, whatever you want to say, what we are really doing is reconnecting with real reality. We are questioning the stories our parents, our caregivers, society, when we were young, our religion, whatever it was that was influencing us, to say this is the right way to live, this is the wrong way to live. That wasn't in alignment with our feelings, with our sense perceptions, that weren't getting us the results we actually wanted, that aren't getting our parents the results they want, that aren't getting society the results they want. But we're being told this is the right way, even though it feels terrible for everybody. That is our trauma. And because it's happening to us on a nervous system level when we're children, it's a survival thing. To rebel from that and follow your own feelings, to go with your actual, okay, I'm not in my parents' household anymore. I'm going to express this part of myself that they told me was wrong and bad my whole life. I'm going to quit doing this thing they told me is very important that I do. I'm going to make the mess and see if I can learn from it. To your nervous system is going to feel like death. It's going to be telling you, no, 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 you cannot do that, you will die. And then these parts of you that didn't get love, that didn't get validation, that didn't get seen. So there's going to be the 2-year-old that hits. And rather than mom saying, okay, how did it feel when you hit the other kid? How did that feel in your body? What did you want? You wanted the toy that they had. You didn't know how to share yet. It felt better in that moment to hit the kid. Okay. But now, how does it feel to look at the kid who's crying because you hit them? How does it feel? If we did this with children, just had them view the results of their actions and observe how it feels in their body, they would learn from real reality. I don't like hitting. It does not feel good to me to do that. Observing the results of my actual behavior, not getting scolded. So mom and dad don't blame or shame the kid, but they get them to look at the actual results of their behavior. and feel what it felt like to do that, that child would learn that doesn't feel good. And then there's no shame and no guilt. There's just, that doesn't feel good. And then as a parent, we provide an alternative. What if we share? What if you let them play with it for a little while and then you can play with it for a little while? You both get to play. They learn something about time. They learn something about communication. It feels better. They get the results of that. They're naturally going to choose to share because they were taught how to witness their behavior, feel the results, witness the results, feel the results, and if it doesn't feel good, try something different. No shame, no guilt. So not you were wrong and bad and you shouldn't have done that, because they didn't know. We're not projecting adult consciousness onto the child who already knows that hitting is bad. They didn't know. They haven't had that experience yet. This is their first time with this. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not know, right? You spill the water. Help them learn how to clean it up. This is what we want to do. And then again, especially with the personality aspects, we all expressed ourselves in immature ways that frightened our parents. That they thought if you are going to be like that, either you're not going to survive or it's going to reflect badly on me. And so you got shamed or abandoned in who you were. So you learned that specific ways of being were wrong and bad, when in real reality, they are exactly who you're supposed to be. They're exactly what you're supposed to be. They are your highest growth path. But now it's programmed into your nervous system that these parts of you are wrong and bad. And like I say, they may have expressed themselves in immature ways. And that's how we reinforce our shame and guilt stories. That it's like, no, but I was immature. I was bad. I did hurt people. I was not good. This part of me is clearly bad. This part of me makes me angry. This part of me makes me yell and scream at people. This part of me makes me binge. This part of me makes me cut. This part of me makes me depressed and anxious, and everyone around me hate me, and all of these things. And I have all these stories that this part of me really is bad. Shame and guilt. I can't be this way because look, this part of me is causing problems. No. That part of you is causing problems because it's a part of you that needs growth. A part of you that needs to come into the light. A part of you that needs to be loved. That was shamed, that was guilted, that was taught to feel these things. Taught to tell these stories. And to go underground. And this is a part of you that, again, is trying to get your needs met. Everything you have shame about, everything that you have guilt about, is a part of you that was trying to get your needs for growth and self-expression met. Every single part. It's an immature aspect. It's a misunderstood aspect. It's got stories attached to it that your parents believed that might have nothing to do with real reality, that you learned from them, that this is a wrong and bad way of being because they thought that was true, but it's not. This is a way you have to be, but it's not true, not in real reality. And now you're getting the results from real reality. Every time you don't express this part, every time you do this thing that isn't in alignment with true reality, maybe you get consensus approval, but you continue to feel worse and worse and worse. We get more and more depressed, more and more anxious, more and more trapped in our scapegoats, our coping mechanisms, our self-sabotage. We wonder why we can't change. Because we're trying to be someone we're not. So the key here is this. Whenever you feel shame and whenever you feel guilt, we need to step into radical self-curiosity. What if this thing about me isn't actually bad? And all my stories for why it's bad and how it's harmful, how it hurts other people, how it hurts myself. Okay, I see that. I get that. I validate that. I have a reason for why I am feeling so ashamed and so guilty about this part of myself. No problem. That's valid. It's been there forever. The story has been told to me my whole life. I shouldn't be this way. This is bad. This is good. This is right. This is wrong. You can't do that. You can't be wrong. You can't not know. You should have already known. You're trying to be a good person. You're trying to do the right thing, but you want to do the wrong thing all the time, even when you know you could eat healthy food and you know what feels good in your body, but you sabotage it anyways. You know you shouldn't be drinking and smoking, but you do it anyways. You pick that same fight with the same partner that you know isn't going to work for you, but you keep going back to them over and over. That's trauma. We need to start to be with these parts of ourselves that we're so ashamed of, that are driving us to do these things that are hurting us and hurting other people, and get radically curious about what is this aspect really? How is this aspect trying to meet a need it has no other way of meeting? How is this aspect that I'm feeling shame and guilt about simply immature and misunderstood? Because I'm going to put it out there again. I've been saying this forever, and I'm going to say it again. There's no bad part of any person. There's no such thing as bad people. There's no such thing as evil, in the sense of something being fundamentally bad. What is actually occurring is there are people who are traumatized, and in their trauma, we are misunderstood, we're not getting our needs met, we're not understanding what our needs are. We're so deeply disconnected from ourselves. We genuinely believe we're hearing from someone else when we have a thought or an inspiration that doesn't match what we think we are. We genuinely believe we're hearing someone else's voice when we want to do something that's harmful for us. We feel like we're possessed. We are so unaware of our own needs that we do things that cognitively we're telling ourselves we don't want to do, but we just keep doing it over and over and over again. There's something driving us to do this harmful, quote unquote, harmful behavior. And we don't know why. Because we're unaware of what we need. We're unaware of these immature aspects of self that got shamed and guilted and traumatized in our nervous systems as being wrong and bad and cannot grow. So this radical self-curiosity is where we basically start to say, okay, so this thing that I'm ashamed of, why? What if this part of me isn't actually bad? It has a need that's trying to help me grow, that I was trained in my childhood, in my nervous system, is wrong and bad. But in real reality, it never goes away, I'm constantly fighting with it. So clearly this part of me is a part of me. And it's not bad, and it's not wrong. It's simply not being loved. It's not getting the nourishment it needs to grow. So we can think of it like a little seed. Little seeds that get planted, but then don't get the water, don't get the nutrients they need. They don't grow into beautiful plants. They get rot. They get diseases. They grow weird. Is that because the plant is bad and wrong? It was a bad seed? No. It was a seed that didn't get its needs met, so it couldn't grow properly. Everything inside of you that you are ashamed of or that you have guilt about is a seed in you that didn't get to grow properly. And if we understand how the nervous system works, the way we were programmed, love equals safety. Safety equals growth. That nervous system video, to be in that state of green, where you are capable of growth, you have to feel loved. That got wired into your nervous system day one. Love and approval from parents equals provision and therefore safety. I can grow when I'm being approved of. So that's why all of us are so addicted to approval in the outside world. We're looking for it from everywhere around because we want to grow. We want to expose these parts of ourselves. That's why we constantly do. None of us are actually good at hiding our shadow. It always comes out because it wants to be exposed. It wants to be seen. These things we're shameful and guilty about, we puke them out constantly. We show them with our behavior, even when we don't talk about them, because they want to be exposed. They want to be brought into the light so they can be seen for how they are, the pain that they're in, the trauma that they're in. They can be validated. And from that, they can be loved and understood. What do you need? How are you trying to help me grow? What are you trying to help me grow into? And then we accept all the trauma around what it is that we actually want to be, that we've been told our whole lives we're not allowed to be. And that we don't want to be the things we've been told our whole lives we do want to be. And we have to face that whole thing. So this is why a lot of us hold on to these shame and guilt stories, because it's easier to just say, I shouldn't be this way, and I'm just going to be in the cycle of trying to fix this thing about myself, than acknowledging that you are going to be the person your parents didn't want you to be, that you're going to have to face all this trauma and think you're going to die to embrace your true self. Because we all feel that way. That's why ego death is such a thing. Because in our nervous systems, to rebel from our programming is going to feel like death. Because we still feel like we're those small children who, if mom and dad disapprove of us, they pull away, we can't get our needs met. We're not caught up to the fact that we're adults. We can provide for ourselves. And we tell ourselves these stories that if my boss doesn't approve of me, if my boyfriend and my husband or my wife or my partner or my sister or my friends or society don't approve of me, I'll die. We have all these stories, sure. But I can promise you, 7 billion people on the planet. Maybe this boss doesn't approve of you. There's another boss. There's another friend. There's another way that you can get your needs met without your generalized other, right? We can start to expand out of this. And then the last thing, we're also afraid if we don't have shame and guilt, we're all just going to turn into awful people. No. Because when we really do this work to connect to why we feel shame and guilt, we're connecting to our true selves and our true feelings, which is then going to be like what I talked about with the example with the kid hitting. You are then going to become the kind of person who can feel the consequences of your actions in real reality. And you won't want to do things that hurt you and harm you anymore. You will learn why your behavior hurts and what you can do instead. You will learn what needs you're getting met through your harmful behavior. And you will learn how to meet those needs in higher and better ways. But how do we do this? Radical self-acceptance. Do the Emotional Mastery series. Look at my transformation series. How can you be with these parts of yourself? Radically accepting your shame, radically accepting your guilt, and getting curious, where did I learn this story that I have to feel this way about this? What's the actual consequences of my reactions, of my desires? What does this part of me need? How is this an immature part of me that needs growth? We become radically self-accepting of every part of ourselves, including the most dramatically destructive parts of ourselves. These are the parts of ourselves that need love the most so that they can grow. They're not bad seeds. They're not bad parts, and they're not going anywhere. You're either going to love them mature so they can express as the tree you want them to, or you're going to continue to deny them and they're going to continue to be your shadow. There's no two ways about it. And again, we have to embrace the idea that our nervous systems are going to feel like we're going to die when we do this. So if you want extra help, I'm doing this in the Mystery School. I've written an entire book about this. There's a lot that you can do. But you don't need a book. If you can start to sit with your emotions, sit with your guilt, sit with your shame, and become radically curious and radically self-accepting, that it is always a story. What do you need? Who do you want to be? And how can you start to be that, even in the face of rejection and that feeling that you're going to die from your nervous system? How can you be your own source of love so that you can get into green, so you can self-express and become who you really are and interact with real reality? Start to actually see you don't need shame and guilt. You can just get the results, pain or pleasure, from my actual results, from my actual actions, and work from there. Okay, so this is why shame and guilt are always stories. Always. You are not the exception. Your shame and your guilt are not the exception. So check out the Mystery School. Hope this helped you, and I'll see you in the next video.